Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Legacy Leaders. Scott MacMeans is joined today by Ronni Shari. She is a mentor and guide for healthcare or beauty professionals, and she works under the umbrella of Ronnie's Resonance. She's also a spa owner, so we're going to talk about a number of different things. But what I'm really excited about is letting Ronni tell her story, how she got here, what she's done in the past to make her who she is, and why her work is so valuable. And there's so many people interested in talking to her. So before we get into all those details, I'm going to let Ronni introduce herself. So the microphone and camera are yours. Ronni,
Hey,
tell us your story.
thank you so much, Scott. I'm really excited to be here today, and I'm happy to kind of give a backstory on who I am and where I come from. But I have actually been a licensed esthetician for the last 14 years. And I've also been a full time spa owner pretty much since 2016. So not only have I been a spa owner all that time, I also have just had multiple roles across, beauty, wellness, business, and just education. So I'm kind of a lot of things now. After 14 years, you kind of gather a bunch of knowledge and
Right.
learning skills, and I kind of want to share that with other people.
I love this. So there's 14 years of experience in a very interesting and rather dynamic marketplace, rolled up into
Mhm.
one, that is Ronni. And your interest is allowing other people that haven't been there, haven't done that, to really get a better grasp of who they are within the space that they're trying to be a professional in, right? So
Yes.
walk us through a little bit of the story behind why you did and why you came about to be this person that's trying to be on the forefront of helping others. Because it's an interesting perspective that most people, as an entrepreneur, everybody wants to help somebody, but you're taking a completely different approach. I want people to understand it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess it would be kind of like my catalyst moment. Not only have I been
Mhm.
in the industry for 14 years, but I also just through all of that time, I've seen how the industry has evolved, and there's a lot of things I don't align with anymore. And as that started to come up in me, I started to explore more things about myself. But really, where the actual moment that happened for me that really had me dive deep into it was I did have a business partnership that I started in, well, I had a business for 3 years, and then I had merged that business with obviously a business partner. And she was kind of like a salon owner, and I was more the spa side of that business. So, of course, my thought on that was great. We're going to be able to work
Yeah.
together. This is going to be so fantastic. And through that experience, I really feel like I slowly kind of lost trust in myself, my voice, my confidence, and really realized I had given my power away and forgotten my worth. And
Hmm.
I used to be, before I got into the beauty industry, because I started right out of high school, this like quiet, shy person. So I felt like I was kind of put back into that role during this experience. So that actually set me off into therapy in 2020. And that kind of opened up that whole shadow work and just working on myself. But not only that, I'd already kind of had spirituality in my life for that 14 years, but really diving deeper into myself and my purpose and all of that kind of forced me more into spiritual paths as well. So that I would say, yeah, definitely my business partnership is kind of where that really blossomed.
Okay. And there's nothing wrong with a business partnership. I think what I've gotten out of your story from our previous conversations, and I want people to understand today, just because something makes complete sense, she's a spa owner, she's a salon owner, it makes complete sense. We should do this. Just
Yeah.
because it makes sense doesn't mean it will for very long. And when you're investigating opportunities, I think the lesson you've learned, Ronnie, what you're trying to articulate is
Mhm.
it looked good on the surface until so long we just couldn't work it anymore. And
Yeah.
it's okay that you learned that lesson, but I want people to understand it's not from a lack of diligence. It just changed in the way you did things. So sometimes, as much sense as something makes, it doesn't make any sense anymore. So you have to move on. And
Yeah.
it's almost the lesson is knowing when to pull the trigger to move on and when to hold on to something that is just not being fruitful for you. So that
Mhm.
to me is a really good lesson for a business owner and an entrepreneur to know when to say when. So I
Yes.
appreciate you sharing that, right?
Yeah.
So as you make this transition, you go from a bad experience with a business partnership, then you go through what I like to say, learning through the lesson. And all of a sudden,
Mhm.
now you've come out on the other side of that lesson with, all right, now I know what to do differently than I've done before.
Yeah.
And I have an opportunity to take this lesson and share it with others so they don't go down that same torturer's path. And I think that's pretty unique. So,
Yeah.
is there one, maybe two points that you would tell somebody, make sure you look for this, make sure you look for that? Like, what is it that you would say is a really good way to kind of protect yourself from these kind of issues?
Yeah, and I think this is kind of a tough one sometimes. I think it comes into trusting yourself, but really trusting your intuition. Things did look really good in the beginning, and as things went on, there was red flag after red flag, and I am kind of more of like an empath, so I'm always trying to see, well, maybe she did this because of this, or trying to see the
Yeah.
best in situations. And so you really just start to kind of lose yourself in that process because you're not honoring yourself. So I think that was, that part of it that was big for me, but really trusting your own self, I
Hmm.
think, is the biggest thing I can give people.
Okay. And it's almost as if when you think about it, the red flags are there. Whether you choose to ignore them or not is completely up to you. But if
Hmm.
somebody is coming with a red flag and you don't notice it, and I don't know if this is the case with you, but it appears as if most people that come with red flags may not know that, but what they do know is they can take advantage of you because you're not calling them out for the red flag, and they'll
Right.
just keep going. So part of the lesson that I'm thinking, what you've learned is a little bit about yourself, right? And knowing how to follow your intuition. But when you do find something, don't wait. Don't be hasteful. Actually do something pretty smart and follow your gut because a red
Yeah.
flag is there for a reason, right?
Yeah, and when I started my business initially, I was 23 years old. So I did not know myself as much as I thought I did that first business with like no fear. It was like this naiveness where I'm like, no, I got this. And then
Yeah.
I think once I was kind of faced with somebody else who was forcing me to look at myself in a different way to get to know myself better, what do I want? What don't I want? I think that was very eye opening and forced me into that self discovery process.
No, I love this. And what I'm
Mhm.
discovering is you could be smart as a 23-year-old. You can have a lot
Yeah.
of experience as a 23-year-old. But what truly gives you the wisdom you need is the combination of intelligence and experience. So you can draw from that and say, you know what? This just doesn't seem right. Or
Exactly.
this is a direction I don't want to go. So I appreciate you walking people through your own journey to find wisdom. And it's not that,
Mhm.
you didn't have any intelligence going into it. It's just the experience gives you a complete different view of what happened and what could happen next. So I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So now that you've gotten away from that situation in 14 years as an anesthetician, you own your own spa. What triggered you to say, I'm going to open up this Ronnie's Resonance and talk to people about how their spirituality, their mentality, their mindset towards things is more valuable than the products, goods, or services they sell in their business, and they need to kind of get right with themselves. What happened? How that? I mean, we've talked about the catalyst moment, right? But I'm
Yeah.
curious, how did this just dive into a? I could, and honestly, Ronnie, you could have just kept being a spa owner.
Mhm.
What was the reason why you went into this?
So I think obviously I spent the next 5 years, right, after
Hmm.
2020 going still as a spa owner. And I think that was part of my thing of like, I need to reclaim my power. And the best way I knew how to do that was to go back into spa ownership on my own. And through that process, I, had mentored and taken on employees and did all of that. But as things started to shift after COVID and just everything in our world right now, I really started to realize that this industry had changed so much. Like I talked about a little bit ago, just that alignment for me was starting to kind of
Hmm.
dissipate. And I started to, in the last year, funny enough, I had gotten a new place, I had moved, and a couple of my employees had moved on. And I was like, I'm just gonna take this year. No employees, like focus on internships, really focus on the mentorship side, but still take services and stuff. And slowly over actually this year, I've really been pushed into that mentorship stuff because I have so many people coming to me. They're so excited to be in the industry, but they're so lost. And
Yeah.
I just feel like for me, putting so much time into my spa just took so much away from where I feel like my focus really needed to be. And that was really helping beauty professionals is how this kind of initially started, I guess. But
Yeah.
it's become more than that. So
No, it's a great story, and I'm making these notes, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, how do you tell your story? And you just honestly, what you just said tells the story pretty profoundly. Is I went back into business ownership for myself. I did it for a number of years and realized it's great. I'm learning. I'm bringing the things I learned back into the business, but I'm missing something, and the fact that my old employees aren't here anymore, I'm now dealing with new people that I'm mentoring and I'm teaching, and I really fell in love with that part of it because
yeah.
there's so much more growth there by helping others become better people, which in turn makes them
Mhm.
better business people and then better employees. So it's a really self-serving model, but it's never self-serving when it's done in the way you're doing it. And I didn't mean to say that you're doing this for a selfish reason. I think it's very unique that
Yeah.
the pathway you've taken is it's more of a service that you're providing, and it's not because you want those people to work with you. You're doing it because you've been there, you've done that, you know exactly the struggles that these people are going through. And why
Mhm.
would you let somebody continue down a pathway that you know is not right? Let me guide you. Let me be your mentor, your teacher. Let me be somebody that can help you go from an excitable young individual trying to get into this business to somebody that won't be taken advantage of, somebody that will be able to put their business in the best spotlight and move forward with a sense of happiness and pride as opposed to, God, I hate going to work every day, right? That's
Yeah.
just a different mentality. And
Mhm.
I appreciate that because a lot of what I love to do about being a business coach is taking people away from, I, I worked 80 hours this week and they just hate it. And all of a
Mhm.
sudden you start working with them and like, all right, I only worked 60 hours. Wow, I'm down to 40. I really enjoy what I'm doing again. And it's because they're not built or the business isn't built around them and them only. It's built around the idea of there's more to this business than just one person. And I think
Yeah.
that's a really good place for you. So I appreciate you expanding on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, there's this hustle culture kind of mentality too. So I think
Yeah.
like I'm super burnout. Usually most people aren't taking 14 years in what I do. You know, they're like 10 years in, they're
True.
like, I'm done. So I think that's part of the thing of like understanding that we're not all built the same way to operate the same way,
Hmm.
to grow the same way. So that's why I felt like, I'm trying to constantly do what everybody else is doing and it's not working for me. And after self introspection, I'm like, okay, I got to learn about myself and then attune, my life to that. And so that's really what I think I want to help beauty professionals with is because it is very tiring and exhausting mentally, physically, spiritually, everything.
Well, it's a very exhausting world, right? To be in the world of beauty because your hours are crazy. The expectations from customers and clients is off the charts because if you do something right, great. If you do something wrong, all hell is broken loose, right? So
Mhm.
the relationship between a beauty professional and their clientele is a very tenuous one. And you tell me if
Yeah.
I'm wrong, but I know from just watching the women in my life go through the experiences in those different spas or salon environments, it's not an easy thing. And granted, there's a lot of relationships built there, but one or two bad mistakes and your reputation's kind of shot. And
Yeah.
then mentally, you're a self-employed contractor. So how do you do that? Are you running your
Mhm.
own business or do you work for a salon? Are you running your own business or are you doing this for somebody else's benefit? There's a lot that goes into being in that space. And I'm
Yeah.
curious, of all the people you've had a chance to work with from a mentor perspective, what are what are the major reasons or major things they like to work with you? Like, what is it that you work on with most of your clientele?
So, speaking specifically from a beauty industry standpoint, I would say a lot of it is kind of like like kind of how I mentioned a little bit ago, they see us on social media. Like we look
Mm.
so cool and we do these things and they're so excited to get into the industry. And then they get into school and either school makes or breaks it for the rest of their career because the schools are kind of can be a mess sometimes.
Oh.
So either that or they're lying and hyping them up, and then they get out, there's no jobs, there's because it's
Hmm.
saturated. The pay may not be there because it takes a lot to train your employees and to do all these things. So I think that has kind of been where it's been at is like taking people like the newbies and helping them get a good start. I really would like to work with more people who have kind of already put in a few years though, because I think that they've already got some stuff that they've learned and we can kind of take that and put that into their toolkit and then align them to things and their purpose and who they are and what they want with their experience. So I
Sure.
do think a lot of it is just the what you think the industry is, and then you get in and then you're kind of really let down in multiple
Yeah.
aspects. So
No, okay. It's an interesting part. Think about how many people go through college and they don't know what they want to do as their major. How many
yeah.
people go through their high school and they have no idea what they're going to do when they go to college or whatever the case may be when it comes to being a young mind. And
Mhm.
everybody has their own perception of what it's like to work in that job until they actually go work it. And like, oh my God, this is nothing like I expected it to be.
Yes.
And you've dedicated this much time to get there. So they have two choices, right? They can easily say, screw it, I'm out. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'll go find something to do. Or they can say, well, I've invested a lot of my own time and investment to get to this point because I've been trained. I know how to do this. I
Yeah.
can move forward, but I'm going to move forward on my terms within this world or universe that I'm going to have to live in. But I'm going to
Mhm.
create it in my image and what I need and what I want to do as opposed to giving up. And for that is probably the best reason for somebody to get in touch with you because
Yeah.
they have been trained, they are ready to go. They just had a bad experience. Like you said, the
Mhm.
school taught them something they shouldn't have or gave them a misrepresentation of what it's going to be. Or they came out, honestly, Ronnie, and they worked for somebody that was an asshole. And all of a sudden, their whole world is tainted to what that limited experience is. And this is where I'm going to jump back to wisdom comes from being smart enough to go through an experience and gain from it. All right,
Mhm.
you don't have to go back and work for that asshole again. You can
Right.
find a way to do it yourself. And through your mentorship, I think it only accelerates their opportunity to get the hell out and find the right landing spot for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think I mean, and there's different types of ways you can be in the industry and use your what you align with that. Like it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be a service provider. Maybe you're meant to go this
Yeah.
other way. Like there's a lot of avenues in the beauty industry, but like you're saying, I mean, I've had a lot of my stuff comes from bad ownership and toxic things and trying making people making you feel like you have to fit into a mold or a box. And so a
Yeah.
lot of that happens and then it becomes really transactional and you kind of lose all this like human connection. So I think if yeah, basically everything you're saying is correct.
No, this is so good because you touched on something I wanted to talk about. Um, in the beauty industry, it's one of the last areas of customer service where the client and the service provider are literally touching each other. You are
Yep.
with that person for a very finite period of time, whether it's an hour or two, whatever the case may be for your treatment or your cut style cut, whatever. Right? You're
Yeah.
with that person, but you're there present with them for a very intimate amount of time, if you think about
Mhm.
it. That's not like buying a car. You buy a car and you're gone, or you buy something on the internet. You never even see anybody. So, as a customer service driven business that has your customers actually touching with their service provider, it cannot be transactional. And if you make it transactional, you're going to lose more clients than you ever able to gain because they will see you as, for lack of a better word, somebody that is fraudulent. You're not good at what you do. And you could be amazing at what you do, Ronnie, but if your customer service is so bad, nobody wants to come back and deal with you again. Right? So
Exactly.
how do you take somebody that is in a transactional driven world I can buy Christmas presents from my phone. I don't ever need to leave my house.
Mhm.
But I got to go get my hair done, or I want to go get a treatment from an esthetician. How do I do that with the expectation of I don't want it to be transactional, but everything I live and breathe with is transactional, right? So you're the
Exactly.
people that provide your level of service have to be exceptionally good at it. I would
Yes.
imagine that's something that the schools don't teach.
Right. They're really not teaching that. I mean, you're getting the basics. You're like 600 hours in an aesthetics program. So I mean, it's very quick. It's barely enough
Wow.
time to even know the very basics of what aesthetics
Yeah.
even involves. So yeah, it's quick and they're not teaching you a lot, but I think trying to think of where to go with this. But yeah, I do think a lot of that comes from the beauty industry. When I first started, didn't know how to set their prices. They didn't know how to do a lot of things. It was very much service based. And if you were doing a 30-minute facial, you're going to charge $30, right? You're like leaving a lot of money out the door of like
Yeah.
things that you need to spend on. So I think a lot of coaches and things kind of came out and were like, hey, you guys need to do this. Beauty industry doesn't know what they're doing. And then it turned into like just business, just numbers,
Yeah.
just, all these things. And so that really changed. So like I was even part of that. I've reinvented myself so many times. And I remember the main time when I did that was when I had talked to different people and they were like, well, you got to do this and you got to do that. And it really just took away because it was like, they would be like, you got to call them guest, not your client. You got to, and it's like,
Hmm.
I get it. But at the same time, I just want to be myself and be like my highest version of myself with my clients. And I
I love
hope
it.
that that is good and I'm authentic and I'm also trustworthy. Those are like the main
Okay.
things that matter.
No, that's good. And here's the thing. There's an old joke that says in sales, if you can fake authenticity, you've got it nailed, right? That's an old joke, right? But there's a sense of reality there. And what I want to get to is if you cannot be authentic in the work that you do, you shouldn't be doing that work. If you
Yeah.
truly love to do whatever it is you're doing, you'll find a way to make money because you create the vacuum that money fills as you move forward because that's what you are
Mhm.
authentically. That's
Yeah.
not to say that somebody really loves to do a certain thing, but they're not good at it. It's not going to help, right?
Right.
But being an authentic person, especially in the world of customer service, that's where it makes a huge difference. If
Mhm.
I am dealing with an interaction with somebody that is my barber, let's say, and I love spending time with Rico, he's great. But if somewhere down the line he starts turning, I got to find a new barber, right?
Yeah.
That's just the way it works. But if he ever stopped being his authentic self and I heard him talk to me differently than he talks to somebody else, I'd question, what are you doing with me that you're doing with somebody else? But what I love
Mhm.
about him is it's the same conversation with everybody because he's just Rico. There's no other way to explain him. He's
Yeah.
authentic. And I put
Yeah.
that into your world, man, that makes a huge difference, right? You don't
Yeah.
have to be unbelievably talented at customer service. You have to know
Mhm.
how to do it because it is a skill. Honestly, I believe it's a science and an art form combined into one. But if you're
Yeah.
good at it and you can find a way to be authentic while doing it, man, people will flock to you. And I think
Yeah.
what you find, especially in your space, when people are authentic, that's who gets the most reward because that's who people want to deal with.
Yeah, and if you watch my TikToks, Instagram videos, whatever, one of the things that I've said over and over is like trust is everything in the beauty industry.
Yeah.
You have that trust starts with you being real and authentic. So I think that's how they can really form those relationships. It's truly just being themselves, like not overthinking it and just being good people, really.
Well, too, the other you nailed it too with the word relationship. That's what you're driving for here. You are in a severe relationship driven business,
Yeah.
right? If you do it wrong once, okay, they'll give you a slide. You do it twice, they're like, third time they're never coming back.
Yeah.
So you have to pay attention, and I think that's what makes your business so unique. Is that
Yeah.
again, in a world of transactional experiences, you are truly a customer service driven business because you are touching your clients.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The conversation, you won't believe it, it's been 30 minutes. It
I
goes
thought
by
we
so
were
fast.
getting close, but yeah.
It goes by so fast. I really appreciate this. I think your story is special, And I think the fact that you've taken your story and you're using it to help others so they don't have to deal with it is the ultimate customer experience. It's the ultimate way of teaching somebody else what to do because I've been there and I've done that. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
As
thank
we
you.
close this out, I always like to ask somebody one last question. If I put you into a time machine and send you back and you get a chance to talk to 18-year-old Ronnie,
Oh gosh.
yeah, what's that conversation sound like?
I think I would probably tell her she has no idea what she's about to go through over
Okay.
the next 14 years. But I think the biggest thing I can say is like every opportunity, everything that happened over that time period was really opportunities for learning moments and only made me grow and become a better person. So I think that's it's going to be
Love it.
hard, but you're going to get there and you're going to be like, "Oh my gosh, I've learned so much even though it was so hard." So yeah, I think that's what I would say.
Love it. It was hard, but worth it.
Yes.
That's the best way to finish it out.
Every
Awesome.
experience as an opportunity.
Well, and I said this before, I've been told countless times by people I engage with because of what I do. They'll say, "Well, I'm failing forward." I said, "Stop with that negative connotation to what you just went through.
Yeah.
Instead, say, I learned through the lesson." I'd
Yep.
rather have you think that way than, "Well, I failed, but I came out on top." It's a good positive thing, but be more positive about what you just went through because if you take 4 steps and turn around and look at what you just did, you'll realize each one of those 4 steps was Herculean in your
Yeah.
change from who you were to who you are now. And I'd
Oh
rather
yeah.
have people think about learning through an experience than I failed, because that's not appropriate. You learn every time you get a chance.
Yeah. Yeah, every decision you make, whether you fail or win, you're learning something. So yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And you just, for what it's worth, you have a very unbelievably positive attitude about your business and the outlook of what you have. And we didn't dive into it, but our previous conversation, I know more about what you went through, and this is an appropriate stance to take is just be positive because that's all that happens, or that's all that can happen moving forward is just be positive about it. So thanks. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you all on the next episode of Legacy Leaders. Bye now.
Thanks.